The Pivot Dashboard item displays a cross-tabular report that presents multi-dimensional data in an easy-to-read format. To bind the Pivot Dashboard item to data, click a placeholder contained in one of the available data sections and select the required data source field in the Binding section of the Invoked Data Item menu. Values are measures which contains data items used to calculate values displayed in the pivot table. Columns are dimensions that contains data items whose values are used to label columns. Rows are dimensions that contains data items whose values are used to label rows. Layout type. If the Pivot Dashboard item contains a hierarchy of dimensions in the Rows section, you can specify the layout used to arrange values corresponding to individual groups. Compact. Displays values from different row dimensions in a single column. Note that in this case, totals are displayed at the top of a group and you cannot change totals position. Tabular. Displays values from different row dimensions in separate columns. To change the pivot layout, go to the Options menu and go to Layout. Totals visibility. You can control the visibility of totals and grand totals for the entire Pivot Dashboard item. For instance, the image shown displays the Pivot Dashboard item with the disabled row totals. To manage the visibility of totals and grand totals, go to Options menu, Layout, and use following options: row totals, row grand totals, column totals, column grand totals. You can control the visibility of totals for individual dimensions or measures. To do this, go to the Bindings menu, select the required data item, and use its Options/Show Totals option. Totals position. If necessary, you can change the position of totals or grand totals for the Pivot Dashboard item. For instance, in the image shown, the Pivot Dashboard item whose row totals are moved from the bottom to top. To manage totals positions, go to Options menu, Layout, and use the following options: row total positions, column totals position. Values visibility. The Pivot Dashboard item can contain several measures in the Values section. In this case, you can hide summary values corresponding to specific measures. For instance, the image shown shows the pivot with hidden quantity values. To do this, go to Bindings menu, select Required Measure, and use its Options/Show Values option. Values position. The Pivot Dashboard item allows you control the position of headers used to arrange summary values corresponding to different measures. For instance, you can display values in columns or in rows. To manage this position, go to Options menu, Layout, and use the Values Position option. Expanded state. If the columns or rows section contains several data items, the pivot column and row headers are arranged in a hierarchy and make up column and row groups. You can collapse and expand row and column groups using these buttons. However, the current expanded state of column and row groups do not save in the dashboard definition. If necessary, you can specify the default expanded state using the following options from the Options menu or Initial State. Auto-expanded column groups specifies whether column groups should be collapsed or expanded by default. Auto-expanded row groups specifies whether row groups should be collapsed or expanded by default. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact us at support@logic.us or visit our support portal. Thank you.